Today on the Extreme channel, it's going to be such a weird review because the piece I'm reviewing can't even be put on this table. And I know you're thinking, Mr. X, is it too big?
That's what she said.
It's not, so let's transport to another part of the X Mansion. Alright guys, this is why. I'm actually reviewing a piece that's already mounted on the wall. Now, I previously had this problem, and ironically, it was with a wall-mounted Queen Alien piece. So this is going to be about as untraditional as reviews come, except I still don't have pants on. As the Extreme channel is pushing towards 50,000 subscribers, these are just a few of the statues we're giving away on the journey there. If you want to know how to win one, stay tuned for later in the video. Hey guys, thanks for tuning into the Extreme channel. I don't know how long this review is going to be because I'm actually squatting to make sure that I am in frame with the Prime 1 Studios Queen Alien wall art. And while yes, it is mounted behind me, it is that small. I mean, it's tiny.
That's what she said.
But today we're going to do a traditional review on it. As I said in the intro, I actually have another wall-mounted Alien Queen piece. So you can actually check out the review right here. It's actually in the entrance to my basement. However, I decided to get this because I had an empty spot on the wall. This is kind of my area for life-size busts and similar products of really evil people. And we all know the Queen Alien was a bitch.
Get away from her, you bitch!
And this is going to be kind of a tough review, not just because of the perspective, and I'll give you plenty of close-ups of the piece, but simply for the fact that last night before I filmed this, I watched the Prime 1 Studios showcase. And I freaking love Prime 1 Studios. However, they may have missed the ball on this. If you want to know my thoughts on the Prime 1 Studios showcase, check out the Extreme channel webpage. I actually did a blog on it. Now, before we jump into the full-fledged review, I'm going to whore myself out a little bit. Alright guys, you know that I'm a big drinker of everything. Water, milk, the blood of my enemies. And recently I started promoting the Coldest water bottle. And I gotta tell you, I'm still a fan of this. I carry it everywhere. I ordered another one. It keeps drinks cold 36 to 100 hours. Plus, like today, I'm going to my son's basketball tournament. They don't know what I have in here, and it stays cold the entire time. If you want to win one of these, there's actually a link in the description below. Also, there's a referral link if you just want to buy one and it supports the channel. Lots of different sizes. Check it out. Alright, so first thing we're going to start with is concept. And this is why I bought this piece. I think the concept is amazing, but check it out. So first thing you need to know, this is a conceptual piece. It's not from a specific scene in the movie. It's kind of tying everything from Aliens, the second installment, together. So everything is platformed on the secretion where they, entrap the humans. They create the eggs. On the bottom you see a face hugger coming up on the tube that the eggs actually come out of. You see two eggs where presumably face huggers came out of. Two alien warriors on the side, kind of in a lean back, relaxed pose. Not a big fan of the pose on them. You see a human where here the chest burster has actually come out. You can kind of see it right here. It's weird because it's coming from the top angle where they're dead. Looks very similar to the one we saw in the movie where the alien first came out of their chest, at least in the second installment. Then you have the alien queen with her forearms and her tail behind her on top of everything. So like I said, this is kind of a piece where they just came up with an idea and put all of the crucial parts that involve the queen together. So I really like it because it encompasses all of that. Some of the people who want a specific movie scene, they're going to hate it. But for me, this is a knock out of the park when it comes to concept. So clearly, no brainer. It's a 5 out of 5 on the concept for me. However, I do wish that it was bigger. But that's more of a design thing. So believe it or not, I was able to film an unboxing and an assembly. Very small box, which was nice for shipping purposes. It does have a pretty cool art box. On the front of it is a picture of the statue itself. The top, Wayland Industries, obviously a tie back to the movie. Standard, Prime 1, custom foam. Now what's interesting is everything was taped in there as well as the black silk. I almost feel like it was a different factory, and part of that we'll talk about in paint and sculpt. Thankfully nothing was broken. Now, while I think there were some cheap parts in it, I think for the most part we'll talk about those in paint and sculpt, but everything does fit together really well. Let's get the dimensions really quick for you guys. So it's about 24 inches tall, about 14 inches wide, and about 6 inches deep. For exact dimensions, you can check them out on Prime One Studios' website. Now, one could argue that that's a design problem. It's too small, but it all depends on what the collector's pairing it with, so I really can't take any points off for that. Now, if you want to see how this looks with everything else, I had to actually take down a few pieces. Check out the Extreme Channel Instagram, Facebook page, and TikTok. The link for that is in the description below. So overall, despite some of the cheap pieces and weird packaging, I think that part is done really well. I'm going to go ahead and give that a 4 out of 5. Now, not only am I filming this while it's laying down, so I'm a little bit off my game, but I'm filming it before I've done anything else. I've just unpacked it and unboxed it. So we're going to look really fresh at my thoughts on the paint and sculpt. Now, you definitely want a lot of light on this piece. You know, all the display photos they showed, he was very dark, and I think that covered up a lot of sins, so to say. But some of the shininess really makes it pop as well. So I'm kind of torn on that. Let's start on the Queen. Don't know if I'm digging. I think the color scheme is fine, but I think it's the material they use more than the paint or sculpt. Looks a little cheap, looks a little plasticky, and sometimes you can cover that up with good paint and good sculpt. Now there's this shine on here, but it's not a moist saliva secretion effect, which I think is a miss. I do like the size of the Queen Alien head and the presence that it takes. But even looking at her hands, which as we talked about, or I haven't yet, but I will, it was plastic. So I think they did an okay job hiding that. A lot of weight to the bottom, but even like the tail here, like I said, looks a little cheap, kind of plasticky. Now because it'll be going in the dark, and it's actually going right over there, where those holes in the wall are, I think it'll be okay. Now, the paint on the Queen, like in the interior mouth, looks okay. Really neck-alike, honestly. So I think that's a huge miss for Prime One Studios. I almost feel like this came from a different factory with some of the stuff in the packaging that they normally use. So I think it's a little bit of a miss on the Queen as far as the paint and sculpt. And then even looking at like this portrait right here, not digging the paint at all, or even the sculpt. Very poorly done. You know, Hot Toys does a better job than that, and Prime One Studios should not be competing against Hot Toys. However, I think those are the weakest parts of the statue. Moving on to not as weak are the alien warriors here. You know, kind of the interesting pose they're sitting in, kind of board guarded, but I like how they added a little bit of the orange or a little bit of the yellow to the colors. There's a little bit more detail. It seems like Prime One Studios is really used to the larger scale pieces. As we talked about, this is probably like 1/8 or so where they can add that micro detail, so it's a little bit missing here. However, I think the rest of it is awesome with one exception. So the secreted, whatever that is in the back, the nest that they make, I love the shine on it. I like the detail, how it's kind of ribbed in between each other. I think that's really incredible. How everything's flowing from without that. The chest burster coming out looks great, I think. I like the color of blood that they used. Would have been nice to like maybe some blood on the mouth, I guess, of the person. The eggs here look fantastic for the face huggers. I like the bulkiness of them, a lot more detail in those. And then the tube here for the Queen, you can see it going up to there. So the conceptual part of this. And the one exception is, I think the face hugger here, it's too melded into the tube. It almost looks like it's not differentiated. Maybe it's because the colors are so similar. Maybe it's because the paint wasn't as clean. But so I really like the back part of this more than the actual Queen and the aliens themselves. So it's interesting. So we'll see what I'm going to give it on a score. But I am disappointed. But you get what you pay for. Granted, I still paid quite a bit of money for this, which we'll talk about. I guess that's kind of a lie. We'll talk about how I didn't spend that much money at all now that I think about it. All right, so let's talk about the paint and sculpt. I think the sculpt's very mediocre. I think it's about a 3 out of 5. It's still good, but it's nothing amazing, especially considering some of the other Alien pieces that Prime One Studios is making and other companies like XM Studios and more. Now the paint, I like it even less. Unfortunately, it does get a 2 out of 5 for me. I think it's a big miss, which is really rare for Prime 1 Studios. It could use some touch-ups in some certain areas to make it look better. And clearly, like I said, there were some pros to the paint, but it's just not for me. That's why I give it a 2 out of 5. So value. So this is a $700 piece, and they made 200 of these. However, I use mostly points, and shipping was only like $50 for economy shipping. I think in the end, I spent under $200. Clearly, that's a great value for that. But again, it's just too small. So at $700, I don't think the value is very good, honestly. I think it's a 2 out of 5. I think I'm going to have a hard time reselling this, especially with some of the intricacies in the packaging. But I'm going to keep it for a while, even though it doesn't really blend in with my collection well. So does this have the X factor? Is this a 5 out of 5 statue? Of course it's not. It's not a cumulative score of everything else. However, it's when I look at it, is it badass? I do think it is badass. However, I'm really disappointed about a lot of the stuff we talked about. So I think at best, this is a 3 out of 5 statue. I think it could go really well if you had the right setup, but it does not go well with my setup. We will be giving all of these statues away, plus additional ones at every 5,000 subscriber milestone. To win one of these statues, all you have to do is make sure you've liked this video, you've subscribed to the channel, you've hit that bell notification, and then just drop a comment below. Every 5,000 subscriber milestone, we are going to do a random drawing and pick a random comment and give one of these statues away, plus some additional ones I'm not showing right now. The more videos you comment on, the higher your chances are to win. So thanks guys for tuning in for the really unconventional review. I appreciate it. Drop your comments below what you think about this piece. It'll enter you into the contest. If you like stuff like this, hit that picture of me. Give me a like on the way out. Really appreciate it. Talk to you soon. Take care.